Everybody listening today. I have a very special lady with me today, Jessie Hope, who has got a wealth of information, both naturally and medically to a certain degree as well. Jessie, I would love to invite you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start off, or maybe you can explain to the listeners all about your background in mental health and the nurse.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So yeah, I started my career a long time ago when I was 17 years old, I think, in mental health, and then carried on, did my training in a kind of one of the old-fashioned asylums, not quite an asylum, but up on the hill, a lovely community up there. And so yeah, I've worked in acute admissions and rehab and forensic units. So 20 years, I think I've been working in mental health, and it's changed quite considerably in those 20 years.
Wow. So without obviously giving too much information on your public, what sort of conditions are you dealing with there, Jessie?
Well, currently I work in the community, so it's quite a different setting from inpatient units. Obviously with the pandemic, things have changed quite considerably, the way we work in, and being a bit more rural in our working, and a bit more, I suppose we're not disconnected, but certainly you have to work differently from how we used to. The teams are more spread out. But it's been an interesting challenge, and it's good to kind of have challenges, because adapting and changing is what humans are about. So
Absolutely.
it's been an experience. It's not all, it's definitely had some negatives, and obviously lots of people have suffered through it, but also it's made us rethink about how we work and how we present mental health in the community.
And going forward from that, then, do you think with being in the rural community, it's often brought in the public eye about, say, the farming communities, which are very rural, even though they do have their quite knit communities as such. Do you find that they've had a bigger effect on the mental health in the pandemic?
I think isolation is a huge problem. Rural communities were already isolated before the pandemic in some ways, and obviously the pandemic has caused even more isolation. So that isolation, the loneliness, the anxiety and paranoia that then comes with those issues, and rural areas generally just have less resources. So even outside of pandemic times, there's less resources in rural areas.
And do you feel as if people are more forthcoming now for help? Do you feel as if people are, it used to be the British thing, stiff upper lip and we get on with it and we prance on and whatever, whereas I think from personal experience myself, people are now forthcoming and saying, listen, I need a little help here. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's a huge drive, for stress and depression and anxiety. There's a huge push. And I think it is recognized a lot more now in mainstream. A lot of celebrities and famous people are highlighting depression and anxiety. I think something that still still has a bit of stigma attached is the area I work in, which is psychosis and schizophrenia. I don't feel like there's as many resources, or there isn't the same kind of awareness around those areas. So there's still work to do there. But we're getting there. I think. Okay. And I think it's okay to say, actually, I'm really struggling. I think people accept that a lot more.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And do you find there's age brackets with reference to, say, schizophrenia, mental illness in general, or is it widespread right across the board?
Well, I think schizophrenia and psychosis, is the least common kind of mental health. So, and it depends, early onset is like kind of late teens, early 20s for some people, but you can get it later in life. As people get older, they can develop some of those experiences. So it is across the board.
And with them conditions as well, it's not my line, I don't know anything about it. So for listeners like myself, would you say there's been some sort of trauma that's triggered that to go into them sort of mental categories, if you like? Or is it a wide range of different things?
Generally, the thought is that it's usually a trauma response to something. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's still an area that really needs to be explored. There's not as much research around it, but yeah, certainly trauma is a huge component.
I'm going to put a bit of a spanner in the works here, and I just want to ask your opinion. Years and years ago, when I was growing up, the main thing for youngsters at the time, drug related, was sniffing glue. Yeah. And obviously that's now progressed onto a lot of harder stuff. Marijuana is still there somewhere along the line, and for whatever reasons, but also the harder drugs are there as well. Do you find there's an avenue for the youngsters that are on that track to go down that mental illness because of the drug relation, or is it? Do you think it's separate?
No, I don't think it's separate. I think drug use and psychosis are linked. There is a lot of evidence to say that drug use, especially in young people, you know, when your brain's still developing, if you've got a vulnerability anyway, if you have drug use, it can trigger a psychosis, absolutely. And we do deal with a lot of drug related psychosis.
It's a really huge topic when you get into it, isn't it? It's a minefield, absolute minefield. Just a basic question now, Jessie. What actually started you off on your mental health journey at the very start? How did you get into it?
Well, it was either a choice of being an opera singer or a mechanic when I was younger.
So oh my gosh!
I got a terrible voice. I cannot sing. I don't know why I wanted to be an opera singer. And a mechanic, I realized that I'd have to be outside in the cold too much. And I was like, oh, that's not going to work. So yeah, and then everyone said, oh, you like people. Why don't you be a nurse? So I was like, oh, okay. And I don't really like the blood and guts stuff. So general was never really. And anyone who knows me knows that I love my own children, but I don't love being around everyone else's children, you know, so I'm not a children's nurse.
Love it.
Yeah, and I remember reading a book, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden. I kind of remember who the author was when I was in my teens, and I was totally just inspired by the book and really interested. It was a girl who had psychosis, and she had these different layers of the world, and she talked to these different kind of gods. And
wow.
Yeah, and I would just remember being so interested with the book. I was like, right, you know what? But yeah, so mental health just kind of came after. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, that's brilliant. And what was the light bulb moment when you decided to diversify from the mental health into other areas? Or was there a particular time where you thought, oh, I'm interested in this, and this? And how did you go down them paths?
I think mental health, it's a really good opportunity to have a holistic approach with mental well-being. You know, we all have something that makes us feel a bit better. So whether that's yoga or exercise, whether it's crafting or something that kind of just going out walking, you know, we all have something that makes us feel better. So I think we have to look at, there was quite a medical model for a long time in mental health where it was very pharmaceutical led, and actually there's a big push now that, you know, it's about our mental well-being and all the other things that we put in around it. And also being a nurse, you know, we sit at computers and we drive and we hunch and we're stressed. And so the Pilates came naturally because it's all about posture and breathing. And when we're anxious and kind of feeling a bit overwhelmed, we all know now that breathing is essential. So the Pilates kind of combined the posture related stuff, stress reduction, and also breathing. So
excellent.
That's natural.
And I just want to ask as well, maybe it's been a while, but going back to your very first Pilates class itself, how did you feel when you went there? Can you remember? I'm just thinking of people who have never been, you know.
So as a participant or as a teacher?
A participant.
Oh, as a participant, I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. You know, people always talk about your pelvic floor and your core and lifting, and I was like, oh, I don't know what she's talking about. But I noticed quite quickly that, you know, the benefits of it and engaging the core, and actually the huge benefits that you have on lower back pain from practicing Pilates. And
as a nurse, did you feel this helped you as well after you've done?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always in my office at work kind of teaching, you know, telling people to do this and sit down and do these exercises. None of them get away with it. If they've got a headache, it's because they need to do something.
That's right. No, that's brilliant. That's fabulous. And then you went on to be an instructor in Pilates as well. So how was that journey? How did that progress?
Well, I really love Pilates. For me, you know, some people are very into yoga. I don't have the same flexibility as some people for yoga, but Pilates combined, you know, some really good movements with breathing, and the principles of Pilates are really They sit with me well. So it just felt like, after being a participant for such a long time, it felt like actually the natural progression was to become a teacher.
And are you still teaching now, Jessie?
I haven't taught throughout the pandemic, just because,
Right.
and just because I've kind of the nursing's taken over and life kind of took over and all the juggle. So it just didn't feel quite right. But no, I'm going to go back to teaching.
Brilliant. Excellent. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And listeners have to pick your ears up now, because Jessie and her partner Mike run the Feel Good Festival, which is in Cumbria, and we are adored to hear about this news about this festival every year, or as much as we didn't have it last year. That's right, isn't it? We
did run last year, but we ran small scale. Very small. Yeah.
That's right. So I wonder if you can just tell everybody all about this festival. It's fabulous.
So it's a really lovely festival. Obviously I say that, but it's the 4th year this year. We did manage to run last year. We did all the things that the council needed us to do. But it's a family-friendly festival. It's basically, I really wanted to have an accessible festival that offered a holistic look at health and well-being. So promoting local practitioners with, you know, an absolutely massive array of health opportunities. So we have talks on CBD oil, reflexology, aromatherapy. The whole time then we have yoga. So we have yoga every hour throughout the festival. So you can do all types of yoga. We have gong immersion. So we've got somebody amazing, Rowan Carr, who comes over and does our gong experience, which people find fantastic. Obviously there's pilates and mindfulness. I teach mindfulness. We do body scans, but then we have a whole heap of dancing. So we've got Latin dancing, salsa dancing, swing dancing, dance for fun, so just moving your body, and and then we have some live music in the evenings, and it's based in Kirklinton Hall, which is an absolutely fabulous setting for children.
That's just outside Carlisle, isn't it? Just outside on the back road. For worldwide listeners, this is England as well, just on the outskirts of Carlisle, Cumbria. And the venue itself is quite historically.
Yeah, it's a really unique venue. I mean, it's absolutely lovely. It used to be the Craze nightclub many years ago, so we can imagine how that must have been. But it's, you know, there's river walks there, there's a rose maze, there's lots of things to explore. There's Kirklington pigs, which are lovely. So yeah, so if it was a camping experience, it's a pretty lovely place to be for the weekend.
And people can bring their tents along to this weekend?
Yeah, so we have camping, weekend camping, and we have day tickets.
Oh, brilliant.
So people can come just for the day if camping isn't their thing. To be honest, it's not my thing, but I have to be there. So, you know, if it wasn't. But yeah, it's a really lovely weekend. And the practitioners are involved come with that kindness. They come with that compassion and sharing and caring. It's a really lovely community of people.
That's brilliant. And the date, when is this occurring?
So it's the 9th, 10th and 11th of July. So is that, I think that's three weeks.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. That's brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah.
And all the tickets can be bought from yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, so the festival, we've got a website, which is feelgoodfest.co.uk. The ticket numbers now are limited just because of Boris's restrictions, or not letting us quite as much as we wanted to yesterday. So the tickets will be limited now going forward, but we do still have some.
That's brilliant.
Available. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. And any practitioners, any other practitioners that you're after, or has all the spaces been filled?
We could always find therapist spaces, because every year therapists are booked solid at the Feel Good Festival. Like the first thing people come is like, right, I want a treatment. So there's always space for therapists if anybody wanted to contact us.
That's brilliant. That's excellent. And anybody who's new, say, to dancing, they won't be laughed at or anything like that. It's all open and open arms, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's so lovely about the festival. And obviously I organise it, but it's all the people that come. They're such lovely people with huge hearts, and just it feels really lovely. And yeah, it's a really nice environment. So definitely no one will be laughed at. Lots of people come on their own. We have a lot of people, single people, come on their own just to be part of our community, and it's a safe place to be.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I'll have all Jessie's information about the Feel Good Factor at the end on the show notes. And is there a sort of an itinerary of events as well that will run?
Yeah, so we just released the schedule yesterday.
Fabulous.
So that's on the website. It's on the info page on the website, so people can have a look at that.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, obviously, in this current climate, it's subject to change in terms of people might have to suddenly go off and isolate. But yeah, hopefully that's pretty much how it's going to be.
That's brilliant. Did you feel as if you had to go through an awful lot of hoops this year for it to go ahead, Jessie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. By the end of it, I will want a massage and some relaxation myself. But yeah, it has been, the last 2 years has been a little bit more stressful in running the event. And obviously we're a small business, so it's made it a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, that's right.
But by the time we get to kind of Saturday morning, we're just like, you know what, it's okay, it's all good.
Brilliant.
All good.
Oh, that's fabulous. Car parking space is just something that's going through my mind for car parking if people take the car.
Yeah, we've got heaps of space.
Lovely, that's great. Yeah. And then going forward next year, would it be around about the same time of year? Is it going to be an annual event?
Yeah, well, I think at the minute, Di, we're going to just take a pause after this year, just to kind of review and reflect. Obviously, the last 2 years for small businesses, but you know, you have to kind of adapt and think, okay, how can we run, and if this continues, so we're going to take it. We're certainly not gone away. We're just going to have a review and think about, you know, the future and what we're going to do. But we'll definitely always be feel good events in some way or other.
Oh, that's fantastic. It just seems to be getting bigger and bigger, and that's perfect. That's exactly what the county needs, exactly what the world needs, the feel good factor, and it's super important. It really, really is. So can I ask you, what do you do to relax yourself? What's your go-to?
Oh, what do I do? Apart from we definitely don't say wine, do we? No. I practice what I preach. I do try and practice what I preach, and certainly now, after the kind of last year or so, spending time with friends actually is incredibly important. I've really missed that, connecting with people. So spending time with friends, walking in our beautiful countryside, practicing what I preach in my mindfulness and pilates. Sharing my time with people, really.
Great. And I think because we are human, we need that contact, and we need that time to realize who we are, because I think when we get into that hamster wheel of events in life, it just takes over, doesn't it? And we sometimes forget where we are, what we're doing, not literally, but you know, we get in that wheel and it's just too fast for us. So it has been a bit of a reset button, I think, for all of us, hasn't it, where we look into things a bit differently, which is fabulous. Well, Jessie, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
I hope everything goes well. I'm sure it will. I might take myself down for one of the days and just have a look down, time permitting. Thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and wish you all the best for the future.
Thanks very much, Di. Thank you. Bye.